When I went to visit Meredith after she had given birth, I was shocked to find that the father of the newborn was Sam.
Sam's and my baby. Isn't he adorable? Sorry for giving birth before you,
Meredith said with a triumphant look, joyfully holding her child. Sam, seemingly torn between feeling happy and checking on my reaction, couldn't hide his pleased expression. It seemed like all this was part of Meredith's plan.
Congratulations. I wish you both happiness,
I said to Meredith and Sam before leaving the hospital room. They probably thought I would silently step back. But that wasn't going to be the case. I immediately took out my smartphone and made a call. The baby is born. Come right away. I am Michelle Smith, turning 34 this year. I was above average in academics, attending a mid-tier high school in our local area. The school had strict rules but great teachers. And Meredith was my best friend in high school. I missed the high school entrance ceremony due to a cold and had to attend the next day. When I went to school the next day, the girls had already formed their groups. Being shy, I couldn't join in with the girls who were chatting happily. So, I just sat alone at my desk, reading a book. That's when Meredith approached me. You weren't at school yesterday, right? I'd love to be friends. She said that to me with such a bright and cheerful voice. Her first impression was that of a cute girl, with clear, bright eyes and distinct features. She could have been scouted for an entertainment agency, I thought. I thought Meredith, with her charm, would surely be popular. I assumed she would quickly make other friends because of that. But surprisingly, she didn't make other friends and always stayed with me, hardly talking to other girls. She sometimes talked to boys, but that was it. So, during our freshman year, Meredith and I were always together. We hung out on weekends and were fairly close. In our sophomore year, we chose the same class for students aiming for national or science universities, which was unpopular among girls due to its difficulty, including advanced mathematics. Unlike the liberal arts classes, this class was more challenging because we studied up to Calculus 3. Due to its difficulty, it was unpopular among girls, and there were only a few girls in the class. Meredith was very popular with the boys in our class, often surrounded by them in what seemed like a reverse harem. She was always smiling and touchy with the boys, which sometimes led to misunderstandings and confessions. Normally, this would lead to jealousy among other girls, but the girls in our class were all very straightforward and down to earth. Because of this, there wasn't any rivalry or conflict between the girls. Meredith and I spent all our high school years together. After graduation, I pursued a career in pharmacy, while Meredith went into sociology. It surprised me that she chose a humanities major despite being in a science class. When I asked her about it, she casually replied, "Because in a science-oriented college prep class, there are overwhelmingly more boys. You'd want to be fawned over, right?" I wondered if that was really the case and didn't say anything more. Then we both went off to different universities, separating from each other. Initially, we kept in touch regularly, but gradually, that faded away. After graduating from college, I achieved my dream of becoming a pharmacist. I worked at a community pharmacy. Being a pharmacist is complex work. I had to check prescriptions for errors and provide medication guidance to ensure proper usage. As a newcomer, I made many mistakes and often got scolded by my seniors. There were times I felt so down I cried. But I persevered, gradually becoming more skilled at my job. That's where I met Sam. Sam worked in pharmaceutical sales and frequently visited the pharmacy where I worked. He was soft-spoken and approachable from the start. He had deep knowledge about illnesses, which I admired. Even though he approached me initially for information, I often ended up learning from him. I found Sam to be shining in his role. Looking back, I think that was when I started to have feelings for him. Our relationship changed after a year of knowing each other. One day, when Sam came to deliver medicines as usual, he handed me a note with his contact information along with the delivery slip. When I nervously made the call, Sam immediately answered, saying, "Ms. Michelle. Thanks for calling. I'm really happy." After that, Sam confessed he liked me. We went out for meals several times and eventually started dating. 3 years into our relationship, Sam proposed, and we got married. Sam and I began our married life in his family home. His parents had passed away, so although it was his family home, it was just the two of us living there. This allowed me to live quite freely. However, our marriage wasn't without its challenges. Mainly concerning children. 3 years into our marriage, we still hadn't been blessed with a child. I had always wanted children. And Sam would say, I'm the sole heir of the Smith family. We need a child. Sam's relatives were traditional thinkers and valued family relationships. They were all from large families. Even Sam's cousin had her 3rd child last year. So, I felt an added pressure. Driven by this urgency, I started visiting a fertility clinic. I underwent various tests and received advice from doctors. I had high hopes for this clinic, known for its high pregnancy rates, and spent a significant amount of my savings. However, despite all efforts, the results of the fertility treatments were disappointing. A particular test result forced me to give up my dream of having children. Initially, friends and colleagues said a lot, but gradually, they became more reserved and stopped bringing it up. At work, people avoided discussing children when I was around, which somehow made me feel sadder. But it was different with Sam's relatives. Whenever they visited, they would ask me probing questions without any reservation. Even though it was a private matter. Especially Sam's uncles and aunts, they were relentless, blaming me. Michelle, what do you think about parenting? The Smith family won't continue like this, will it? My daughter already has 3 children. Maybe you should talk to her and get some advice? I had no choice but to respond with a forced smile. For me, who desperately wanted children, these moments were the most painful. And during these times, Sam was just there. Not defending me from his relatives. He even blamed me, saying, I want a child soon too, but Michelle seems to like her job too much. Sam also wanted a child, likely for the sake of carrying on the family name. I think he wasn't particularly fond of children, he just wanted to maintain appearances. So, he blamed me even when we were alone. I shouldn't have married you, Michelle. If I had married someone else, I might have had kids by now. I made a mistake. Sam would say, sparing no harsh words. However, he wasn't very proactive about fertility treatments and reluctantly went for tests. He never bothered to look at the results or listen to the doctor with me. Yet, because I still loved Sam, I silently bore his harsh words. It was the weakness of being in love. I just hoped for this difficult time to end and endured as best as I could. Then, one day, I received a call from an unknown number on my smartphone. I ignored it, but it kept ringing persistently. Finally, puzzled, I answered the phone, and it was a voice from the past.
Yoo-hoo! Michelle, glad to see your number hasn't changed.
Meredith? I was surprised to get a call from an unknown number. It turned out to be Meredith on the phone. She explained that she had changed her number after her smartphone broke. And was updating everyone. She shared her current situation with me. She's now divorced and living alone. She had become a full-time homemaker after getting married, but due to personality differences, the marriage didn't last. Now she's working as a cashier at a supermarket. Since we hadn't been in much contact since high school, I had no idea Meredith was in such a situation. I always thought she'd be happily living with a perfect partner. Then Meredith said, "You're still single, right? It's lonely being alone, isn't it?" I nonchalantly replied, "I'm married, actually. Just having trouble having a child." Her voice dropped slightly. "Oh, really, Michelle?" I panicked, thinking I had said something wrong, but then she quickly returned to her usual cheerful self.
"Then let me visit your place. I'd love to meet your husband."
Relieved by her change in tone, I agreed to meet. Unaware of the shocking turn of events to come, I had been looking forward to seeing Meredith after such a long time. On the day Meredith was to come over.
"Long time no see, Michelle. You haven't changed a bit."
Meredith hugged me as soon as she arrived. Then glanced at Sam. "Nice to meet you. I'm Meredith, Michelle's friend." "Michelle, you're so lucky to have such a wonderful husband." She looked up at Sam flirtatiously. "Do you think so?" Sam replied, looking smitten. Meredith, even after 15 years since high school, was still incredibly cute. Now with an added elegance. Sam was clearly charmed by her. "I can't believe you have such a beautiful friend, Michelle. Wish I had met her sooner," Sam said, staring at Meredith regretfully. Meredith responded happily.
"I wish I could have married someone like you, Sam. You work for that famous company featured in commercials, right? I'm so impressed.
Meredith kept appealing to Sam, who didn't seem to mind. It saddened me to think that Sam, my husband, was acting this way. But Meredith was my friend. I trusted her not to betray me, given her personality. And I had been with Sam for many years. So I trusted him too. Indeed, Sam and Meredith didn't exchange contact details, and Meredith left as she came. Still, insensitive calls from Sam's relatives continued. Michelle, you're almost 35. Stop working and have a baby already. I understood their concerns about advanced maternal age. But I wished they would leave me alone. However, I couldn't say that, given the family dynamics. Yes, I replied, feeling increasingly weary. When I tried discussing it with Sam, his response was dismissive. They're my relatives, so please deal with it well. Besides, if you got pregnant, they wouldn't say such things. It's your fault, so just handle it properly. And since the day Meredith visited, Sam's behavior started changing. Firstly, his return time from work began getting later each day. Recently, there were days he didn't come home until the last train. Something felt off. One day, I decided to ask Sam about it. Sam, you've been coming home late recently. Is something up? Sam momentarily looked flustered but quickly regained composure. Lately, I've had to go out for drinks a lot with pharmaceutical salespeople. There's nothing for you to worry about, Michelle. Okay. I was suspicious of Sam's behavior, but didn't push further. I thought it might be an affair, but without evidence, I couldn't be sure. And if it was truly work-related, I couldn't object. I knew Sam was working hard in sales and wanted to support him. I loved Sam too much to risk a fight by probing further. So, I chose to stay silent. Besides, I wasn't lonely because Meredith was there. Actually, chatting with Meredith had become a routine recently. She mentioned she had a new boyfriend. She always seemed happy when telling me about him in our chats. She was shy about giving away his name or details, which was kind of cute. Where are you now, Michelle? I'm waiting for my boyfriend for a date. Meredith always asked where I was. When I asked why, she'd say, I want to introduce you to my boyfriend, maybe we could meet up if you're nearby. But it never worked out, as we were always in different places for our dates. She'd say, what a shame. We're a bit far apart. Maybe another time. I was a bit disappointed but looked forward to meeting Meredith's boyfriend someday. A year had passed since Sam started coming home late. Then, a significant piece of news came. It was a call from Meredith. As usual, I answered the phone, and Meredith blurted out, Michelle. I've given birth. Really? Congratulations. Ehe. Thank you. I really wanted to tell you first. I know you've been struggling with having a child. I was surprised to hear Meredith was pregnant. She had often talked about her boyfriend in our chats, but never mentioned pregnancy. She probably hesitated to tell me, considering my situation. I hadn't seen Meredith since she visited a year ago. So I was unaware of her pregnancy. Meredith continued. Could you come to visit me in the hospital? I really want you to see my baby. I hesitated for a moment. I had always wanted children but still hadn't been blessed with any. The thought of seeing Meredith's child made me anxious about whether I could genuinely be happy for her. However, that worry vanished in an instant. Sure, of course. It's a happy occasion. I replied. It was Meredith's joyful news. ND as her friend, I wanted to celebrate with her. I quickly headed to the hospital where Meredith was. Meredith, how are you? As I entered Meredith's hospital room, I was greeted with a shocking scene. Why is Sam here? For some reason, Sam was standing by Meredith's bed. Meredith smiled triumphantly. Why? Because Sam is the father. I was speechless at her revelation. When I went to visit Meredith after she had given birth, I found out that the father of the newborn was Sam. Such news was too sudden to be accepted.
Isn't our baby cute? Sorry for giving birth before you, huh?
Meredith, holding her baby with a victorious look. Sam seemed torn between concern for me and an inability to hide his happiness. Perhaps all this was Meredith's plan. She always asked about my location during her dates. Her claim of wanting to introduce her boyfriend was a lie, she just wanted to avoid a chance encounter. Meredith knew that Sam wanted a child to continue the family line, as I had occasionally complained about it. So, she must have thought of this scheme to take Sam from me. Meredith showed no remorse. Instead, she said, since you couldn't have a child with Sam, it's only natural that you give him to me, right? After all, I did get pregnant. Sam, as if in agreement with her, said, Meredith, who bore my child, is more important to me than you, Michelle. I'm sorry, but can we get a divorce? The house we live in is mine, so please leave as soon as possible. I felt as if the blood had drained from my face. What did Meredith and Sam think of me? Meredith, basking in her superiority for being pregnant. And Sam, choosing his affair partner over his longtime wife. I didn't need such people in my life. I decided to discard their false love and friendship. With that resolve, I forced a smile on my face. Congratulations. I wish you all the happiness. That's all I said to Meredith and Sam before I tried to leave the hospital room. As I was leaving, Meredith said with a laugh, thanks, Michelle. Since you can't have kids anyway, you might as well just focus on your career, right? Sam added, true, Michelle, because of you, we got a lot of flack from the relatives. It's great thinking how Meredith's news will shut them up. He then hugged Meredith. And they were lost in their own world. They probably think I'll just quietly step back. But that's not going to happen. Just before I closed the door, I quickly took out my phone and snapped a photo of the two of them embracing. They were too caught up to notice they were being photographed. How much do they underestimate me? Then I called some people saying, the baby's born. Come over right now. I waited at the hospital entrance, and in less than 20 minutes, the place became lively. About 10 of Sam's relatives had gathered.
What do you mean, the baby's born?
Asked one of Sam's aunts, her tone aggressive. And an uncle, looking puzzled at my attire, said, Michelle, you seem to be in casual clothes. Shouldn't you be in a hospital gown? All the relatives had question marks floating over their heads. This hospital is close to Sam's family home. That's why the relatives could get here so quickly. I didn't answer their questions and just said, Sam's in the room right now. I'll take you there. And so, I led them to the room where Meredith and Sam were. As we reached the door, I could hear Meredith and Sam's voices from inside. Michelle's such a fool. To think she never realized we were having an affair. Meredith said this, laughing heartily. Sam agreed. That's Michelle for you. She actually believed all those work-drink stories. She was so easy to handle. Plus, Michelle's good salary meant she chipped in a lot for our living expenses. We used that for our dates. Poor Michelle, really. That's how they kept talking behind my back. Absolutely infuriating. To insult someone like this and laugh about it. I will never forgive Sam and Meredith. But it seems I wasn't the only one thinking this way. As I looked at Sam's aunts and uncles, their expressions were so stern that their facial veins were nearly popping. One of the uncles was muttering, that despicable guy. And one of the aunts, with a face full of disgust, was saying in a barely audible voice, an affair is a disgrace to the family. We'll make them regret this. Then, unable to contain themselves any longer, the relatives stormed into the hospital room. And an uncle's angry voice echoed through the room. Sam! What is the meaning of this? Huh? Uncle. Sam's face turned pale upon seeing the relatives. Sam's relatives were all quite traditional in their thinking. Men were expected to work outside, while women took care of the home. But they absolutely did not tolerate anything as dishonorable as an affair. Sam knew this, which is why he hadn't told them anything. He probably planned to vaguely brush it off once things calmed down. But Meredith, unaware of this, was saying, Are you Sam's relatives? I'm Meredith, his new wife. Please look forward to celebrating our child's birth. In such a situation, her ability to talk about a celebration was astonishing. It must be her lack of common sense that allowed her to do this. Her words caused one of the aunts to confront Sam hysterically. Sam, what is this? You've been having an affair all this time? While Michelle was still here, what have you been doing? Sam was at a loss for words, looking panicked. The aunt, with a menacing expression, must have been intimidating. The other relatives were also glaring at Sam. Sam, being grilled by all 10 relatives, must have felt very cornered. That's when I kindly explained.
Sam has been having an affair with Meredith there for a year. Meredith was a high school friend of mine, but she betrayed me. Sam has chosen her over me, it seems.
I said this with a pained expression. Everyone looked at me with pity. And then, in the next moment, an uncle lunged at Sam.
You bring shame to our family, Sam. Don't you dare call yourself a part of this family anymore. We are cutting all ties with you as relatives.
He said this firmly. Sam, confused, tried to argue.
But I always talked about having children. It's my child with her, not Michelle. I did as you said, so there shouldn't be any complaints.
Meredith, infuriated, also spoke up.
Instead of that infertile Michelle, I'm the one who got pregnant. You should be thanking me.
I was puzzled by their statements. Why do both of you think I can't get pregnant? I asked, tilting my head in confusion. Sam asserted. Because we've been married for quite a while, and Michelle never got pregnant, right? So it must be all Michelle's fault. I did nothing wrong.
And that's right. I got pregnant while Michelle couldn't. That means Michelle is defective, not me.
Meredith also shouted in a heated manner. I was completely taken aback by these two trying to shift the blame onto me. One of Sam's aunts defended me, saying, I can't believe Sam turned out to be such a worthless man. Michelle, don't worry about it. I'm on your side from now on. I'm sorry for everything I've said before.
Me too, I was just concerned. Michelle, I apologize.
Other relatives started to defend me one after another. It was heartening to see Sam's own relatives siding with me, not him. And just like that, any feelings I had for Sam disappeared. The fact that I had kept quiet because I loved Sam no longer mattered. I no longer cared for him. I decided to confront Sam and Meredith with the reality. So, I'm not the one with the defect, am I? It's you, isn't it, Sam? In front of all the relatives, I dropped a major bombshell.
What do you mean, I'm the defect? That's right. Since I'm pregnant with Sam's child, the defect must be with Michelle, right? The infertile one?
Sam and Meredith both snapped back at me. That's when I revealed my trump card. An email on my phone.
What's this?
Sam trembled as he read the email. Naturally, I showed the content of the email to the relatives as well. Everyone froze as they read it. Probably in disbelief. The email was the result of a fertility test Sam had taken. It revealed that Sam was the one unable to have children. In fact, during our fertility treatment, I underwent various tests and was found to have no issues. But still, I didn't get pregnant. That's when the doctor suggested Sam should also be tested. However, Sam was convinced that the problem couldn't be with him. Why do I have to be tested when it's clearly Michelle's fault, he'd argued. Somehow, I persuaded him to just take the test. But Sam never showed any interest in the results. Even when I tried to discuss them with him, he'd dismissively say, I'm not interested, so leave it. At the time, I was secretly relieved that Sam wasn't interested in the results. Back then, I still loved him and didn't want to cause him any unnecessary distress. So, I never pressed the issue. Remembering all this, I continued. I was found perfectly normal in the tests. The doctors told me I could conceive without any problems. So, the issue was with you, Sam. I confronted Sam with the reality. Then, I turned to Meredith, who had a pale face. Meredith. Whose child is it? I'm pretty sure it's not Sam's. What about it, Meredith? Did you lie to me? Sam, almost in tears, confronted her. The child Sam believed was his own. The shock of betrayal must have been immense. Meredith, seemingly at a loss for words, remained silent. Her silence was an admission.
Is this a joke?
Sam collapsed to the floor, as if all his strength had left him. I thought Meredith was my friend. Why did you do this? I asked Meredith, who was already ignoring the child. The baby was constantly crying in the bed. It seemed to me that for Meredith, even the child was just a tool. She wasn't paying any attention to the crying baby, perhaps hungry by now.
Betraying a friend. Aren't you ashamed?
An aunt scolded Meredith. Amidst the glaring eyes of everyone, Meredith muttered.
I never thought of Michelle as a friend. She was just someone I could use. Same with Sam, I only saw him as a cash cow.
That's despicable, muttered an uncle. Meredith really was the worst. I was not going to let this slide.
You really are the worst. Well, I'll be seeking damages from you.
Meredith flinched at the mention of damages.
I can't pay any damages. I don't have that kind of money,
she said, holding her head in despair. I showed them the photo of Sam and Meredith embracing. I've already secured the evidence. I even recorded our past conversations. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Meredith clicked her tongue in frustration. This whole situation was her own doing. I intended to take everything I could from her. Amidst this, Michelle. Sam turned to me with a pleading tone. What? I threw him a cold look. Undeterred, Sam continued. I realized it, Michelle. You're the one who matters to me. Fortunately, it's not my child, so let's start over. An aunt looked at Sam with contempt. You really are the worst. I smiled at Sam, which he mistakenly took as a sign of agreement.
Michelle. You understand then?
But I had no intention of forgiving him. I'll be divorcing you, Sam. And of course, I'll be seeking damages through my lawyer. I firmly rejected Sam. Then I continued. Unlike you, Sam, I have the chance to have children. I have no feelings left for you. Goodbye.
This can't be.
Sam broke down in tears. With the child not his and our divorce finalized, even his own relatives cut ties with him. Sam was left alone. It was a fitting consequence. Despite being a grown man, Sam was pathetically crying. It was my fault. Please don't abandon me now. But it was too late for such pleas. Not just me, but even the relatives looked at him coldly. Now alone, Sam would surely face difficulties. It was well deserved in my eyes. In the end, Sam and Meredith didn't marry. The child Meredith bore wasn't Sam's. Actually, Meredith's child was fathered by a bartender she was fond of. After spending extravagantly on him, she ended up pregnant and was subsequently abandoned by him. Left with a considerable amount of debt, Meredith devised a plan to pass off the child as Sam's. She thought Sam, with a stable income, would be a convenient choice. However, her plan was going well only until everything was exposed in this incident. Now, Meredith is missing. Crushed under the dual burdens of her bar debts and the alimony, she reached her limit. The debt collectors were relentless, even showing up at her part-time job at the supermarket, leading to her dismissal. With no income and only debt remaining, she likely fled. But life on the run from debt is never easy. Wherever Meredith is now, she must be struggling. Her child was quickly placed in a care facility. The child is innocent in all this, and I hope he can have a brighter future. As for Sam, he eventually quit his sales job. Our divorce was finalized quickly, and he paid the alimony. Though initially resistant, he was persuaded by his relatives and signed the divorce papers with tears. I'm grateful to the relatives who supported me until the end. The new representative at our pharmacy said that Sam had been distracted ever since. He was inattentive at work, often lost in thought, making it impossible for him to perform well in a sales role. One day, Sam made a major mistake, delivering the wrong medication to another pharmacy. The receiving pharmacy was furious. Naturally, Sam was removed from his responsibilities, and similar incidents occurred at several other places he was in charge of. Eventually, Sam chose to resign voluntarily. He's probably now alone in the large house we once shared. However, without any income, it's uncertain how long he can continue living like that. Sam will likely face a difficult life from now on. It seems a natural consequence to me. 2 years have passed since then. As for me, a lot has changed since then. The biggest change is that I got pregnant. After my divorce from Sam was finalized, I started looking for a new partner and attended several parties. I hit it off with a man my age, and since we were both of an appropriate age, we quickly decided to get married. Soon after, I became pregnant. Having always longed for a child, there's nothing happier for me. I'm now fully engaged in preparing for the baby, reading maternity magazines and the like. My marriage with Sam was filled with hardships, but my life with my current husband is incredibly happy. He always cares for me. I look forward to living a joyful life with my husband and our soon-to-arrive child.